from the NFL Network, Brian Baldinger. Baldy, what do you think of that prediction, man? Lincoln Financial, NFC title game, Cowboys and Eagles.
Well, you know that it would be a ratings bonanza, right, Sills? I mean, you know how TV works. Cowboys, Eagles, I mean, division rivals, the history of the organizations, all of that. But are you just going to discount the 49ers here, Sills?
I'm discounting them until they can figure out how to protect their quarterback. And Baldy, I'm gonna piggyback on what I'm saying here. Protect their quarterback and also figure out the quarterback. And the reason I say that with Kyle Shanahan, and I've asked everybody from Phil Simms to Tony Dungy, and I'm going to ask you now. So this guy here, he can't protect the lead when he's the OC in Atlanta. RG3 gets hurt. They bring him back too soon. They put him out there. He gets hurt. Could it be coincidence? Okay. All of a sudden, he gets out to San Francisco.
Well, that was his father. That was Mike Shanahan.
Yeah. Okay. So all of a sudden, Purdy gets hurt. Trey Lance gets hurt. Garoppolo gets hurt.
Okay.
Is it me, Baldy? But, I mean, does this guy struggle at protecting his quarterbacks?
Well, he shouldn't have, the backup tight end trying to block Hassan Reddick on the 6th play of the game. When Hassan Reddick put up 19 sacks this year and the Eagles were getting ready to set an NFL sack record, like I wouldn't put my backup tight end trying to block Hassan Reddick on a 7-second, play action pass. Let's push it down the field. 6th play of the game play. I probably wouldn't have done that. But you also can't anticipate that, a day later is going to need Tommy John surgery to fix the injury to the ligament in the elbow.
Said he put him back in the game too here. Let me get into the Eagles here.
All right.
What'd you make of the Eagle draft?
Oh, I mean, look, it depends on. So here's the question. I mean, you get Jalen Carter, you get Nolan Smith. All right, you get Sidney Brown. They get Tyler Steen from Alabama. But if you're looking at the 2 Georgia kids, are they overrated, Sills, and they fell where they belong at number 9 and number 30, or are they truly rated as high as what people anticipated and things dropped them? It's one or the other, but now only time will tell if Jalen Carter is as talented as what people say. I mean, he played the large part of the season. You can relate to this, Dan, but you can, he got hurt in the first game of the season against Oregon, high ankle sprain, kind of played through it all year. If you want to see what Jalen Carter looked like, look at him the year before. But it's weird. It's a weird program. I mean, obviously Kirby Smart is way smarter than all of us. But it's a weird system, Dan. Like, no defensive lineman ever plays more than 4 plays in a row, ever.
You know what?
You can't get them on the field for a whole series. They're always rotating. So, like, do they have endurance? Do they have stamina? Are they in shape? Like, sometimes you watch Jalen Carter, you're like, well, is it just a system we're rotating? Or is he really in shape? And can he go 4 quarters? Like, I don't know what it is yet.
Baldy, you hit on exactly, and I think it's our mentality of where we came from and what we saw. And here's where I'm going with this too. Like I said about Jordan Davis, I said that guy's not the 13th pick. He's down in the 20s somewhere down there. And these guys do so much rotating. Then I looked at production. Jimmy Johnson always said, I want guys who are around the ball. So in 43 games, he had 9 sacks. This last year, he had none. And I went, man, this guy runs a 4.7, and he's got no production at all on his resume. I played next to Jerome Brown. He and I both had 100 tackles. And I have to remember, we didn't do a lot of rotating, but I had Cortez Kennedy and Russell Maryland behind me and Stubbs and Hawkins on the other side of me and Jerome. And I'm like, well, shit, dude. I know it's the age of rotating, Baldy. And I know that to keep guys in your program, not in the transfer portal, you got to play guys. But do you think Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, you think they're overrated? Or how about this? Better yet, overhyped?
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, neither one of them had great production. And now, I've seen a lot of, like Jordan Davis. He got hurt twice last year. He had a hard time staying on the field. Didn't get to the quarterback. But I had questions about coming out of Georgia, Dan. Like, I didn't see him get to the quarterback. So I said, do you want to spend the 13th pick on a guy that's there to stop the run? Like, that's not today's game. Like, that's not how you build a team. That was my question about him. Everybody's like, you don't see, like, his domination. I'm like, no, I don't. But, like, maybe in his second year, like, Warren Sapp is talking to me about him. And, like, he's got to learn the game, the way Sapp learned the game. He's one of the smartest guys to ever play. So, like, you got to I'm willing to give the guy a second year, a redshirt year. Because the game is so different in college than the pro. I'll give him the redshirt year, but you got to show me third down production. You got to show me a reason to keep you on the field. When it's 2nd and 12, when it's 3rd and 18, I need you on the field, changing the game. And I don't know that we're going to get that. We're going to find that out. I have a feeling you could get that from Jalen Carter because I see his power. I see his ability to move big people. I see that. I got to see it in more than just spurts, though. I got to see a consistent Jerome Brown domination the way Jerome dominated inside.
And I said this about Jordan. I said, I think his floor is Vince Wilfork. Vince won 3 Super Bowls. But are you drafting a nose at 13? And I think, and I said also, if he becomes the Fletcher Cox 2.0, Baldy, that's a win, right? I mean, I think he's going to fall somewhere in the middle there, in between those two guys. Do you agree?
Well, like I say this about Fletcher all the time, Sileo. Like, I know I live in Philly. I see Fletcher around. Like, I remember he was drafted, I think 13.
He was.
In 2012. Okay. Way high. Like, he looks exactly the same today after all these years. He's never missed any amount of time. I think in 1 year he had a toe thing, but he's always in shape. He's never 320. He's never 305. He's 310, right there. He always looks the same. Like, he's been a consistent pro. Physically, he can throw the best around. You leave him one-on-one, he can win the one-on-one. Like, he's been a great pro. He gave them everything you could possibly want in a top 15 pick. Like, you can't ask, unless you're going to the Hall of Fame, the way Cortez Kennedy did. Like, unless you're doing that, and Fletcher's not that good, but he's been a great pro in a top 15 pick for over a decade.
I would say that for sure. Howie Roseman now, Baldy, it seems now he's better now than even after they won the Super Bowl in 17. The contract with the cap hits, with Hurts' contract, the saving of, they lose their top 5 tacklers on defense and all those free agents that they had. I mean, he's been able to retool. He's addressed the stuff in the draft here. I mean, what's the difference, you think? And do you think he's a better general manager today after coming out of the broom closet when they put him in there when Chip was running the ship? Do you think he's better now and he listens more as a GM to the people around him?
Well, he's had a lot of lieutenants come and go. I mean, Joe Douglas runs the New York Jets. Andy Weidel runs the Pittsburgh Steelers. Him and Omar Khan.
Andrew
He's
Berry,
had a lot of guys
Cleveland.
leave. A lot of these guys have been through Philly. They've learned. He's learned. Look, the smartest move he's made, honestly, Dan, was 3 years ago with the 53rd pick in the second round and took Jalen Hurts. Like, he didn't know, nobody knew Jalen Hurts was going to be a bona fide MVP candidate in his 3rd year. But what people didn't realize, and I think they're still learning, is what's inside of Jalen Hurts. Like, the guy just burns bright. Like, everything. Leadership, putting himself in front of everybody as far as looking himself in the mirror, improving, working on his weaknesses, strengthening those things. Like, he's exactly what every team is looking for at quarterback. And I believe he's going to get better. And now he's taken that philosophy that Joe Douglas, a lot of guys had. Like, get your guy and never stop building around him. Keep the trenches strong. Draft Tyler Steen the second round from Alabama. Give him a shot at right guard. Give him to Jeff Stoutland for a year. Let him learn a position. Train him hard. And so, he's at his misses. Jalen Reagor was a horrible pick, instead of Justin Jefferson 3 years ago. I mean, but everybody makes them. The good thing about, honestly, Howie, is they're not afraid to just move on from mistakes, whether it's Carson Wentz, which became a mistake. Like, move on from them. Just cut your losses. Try not to save too much face when you got something else. And that's sometimes we all make mistakes in this business. Everybody does. The best make draft mistakes. Cut your losses. Move on.
Couple last questions for you here, Baldy. So that being said about Hurts, are you ready to call him elite after one great year? Because remember this, Baldy, after the 17 year, they gave Wentz the contract and everyone in Philadelphia was calling him elite. And all of a sudden that thing went sideways and it fell apart and unraveled quickly.
Yeah.
Can we sit? I know that, like you just said, there's two different men here. So I get that there's two different guys, but are you comfortable calling him one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL?
Yeah, but I am. But there's a caveat, okay? Like, he can't run as much as he's run. Like, he ran too much. Like, there's a time to run. There's a time you're being chased, protection breaks down, you go. But he's taking too many hits. He got hurt 2 years ago, bad ankles. Got hurt against Chicago this year, missed some games. Don't know the shoulder was ever right all the way through the Super Bowl. We'll never know, but that's a good thing. Like, he's not going to let anybody know. He's got to change his style a little bit, I believe, Dan, in order to survive, because nobody takes these hits. Trevor Gibson fell on top of him. Right shoulder basically popped out. So he's got, but I do know this. He's coachable, and he wants to be coached hard. And I don't know that you could say that about Carson. Like, he sometimes you take the quarterback and you put him front and center in front of the room and you point things out. Because if you can get on Jalen Hurts making $51 million a year, they know that backup kickoff returner could be getting on too. So you could do that with Jalen. Not that you need to, but I think you can coach him hard, and he wants to be coached hard to be better. And I think that's what's different about him. That I think we haven't seen the best of him. I think he's only going to get better.
NFL question. Aaron Rodgers, his impact with the Jets will be what in 2023?
I think the Jets are going to be a playoff team, Dan. I think the question a lot of people had was, hey, is this a one-year rental? Is he there going there for a year to just stick it to the Packers? I don't believe anything. I believe he's there for more than a year, at least two. I believe he's already – I've been up there a couple times, Dan. I believe that his offseason commitment is already underway. He's there throwing. He's in the building. And he's not like this entitled guy. Like, I know guys that do the TV in New York. Hey, Aaron, can we put a microphone on you today to do this thing on the field? Can we follow you around with the camera? He's out there introducing himself to secretaries, to the trainers, to the TV, end of it, to the scouting side. Like, he knows what he's got to do to be successful. And sometimes you go in there and you're just Aaron Rodgers and you just live in a bubble and you don't do any of that. Well, Brady didn't do that coming to Tampa. He ain't doing that going. I think this can work. Now, can they protect him well enough? That's been the question for all the quarterbacks over the last, since Joe Douglas took over. Can they build a good enough wall, to protect him? Because I think they have a lot of things in place to be good.
Final question for you. Who leads his team further and who has a better year, Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson?
Well, I think Lamar Jackson is just much further ahead in his development. He's going into his fifth year of starting. They basically built the team around him. OBJ coming in, Zay Flowers drafted, Mark Andrews, a Pro Bowl tight end, a number one drafted center, Tyler Linderbaum last year. Ronnie Stanley's been a Pro Bowl left tackle. I mean, they've got pieces in place for Lamar to be successful. They've taken Todd Monken on as offensive coordinator to help expand and grow the passing game that he's got to get better at. Now, we'll see. But I think just because Deshaun's now going through his first offseason, I don't think the team is nearly as complete as I don't think the organization is as good or proven as Baltimore's is. So I just feel like Lamar's in a better position because of everything around him, from the organization, from the ownership all the way down, than Deshaun is.
Next time you're in Tampa, let me know ahead of time, because I love when we get you on. Get you either over to Malios or over to Burns Steakhouse, or we can always send you to the Wing House, and you can go see Big Daddy. How you doing?
Yeah. Well, I think I have an open bar tab over at Burns, so I better get that cleared up first, before I walk back in there.
Hey, Baldy, great success you're
Yeah.
having, man. It's
Thank
great
you, man.
listening to you and watching you on the NFL Network. Make sure everyone checks them out. Brother, thank you so much for our friendship and you
Yep.
finding time for me. Thank you,
All right.
brother.
You got it, Sileo. I'll see you, buddy.
You got it.
Take
That is
care.
Brian Baldinger. Please hit the like button. We appreciate Baldy coming on with us here. Hit the like button. We'll hit on what Brian said here in a second. Keep it here on the National